And good evening. Welcome to another Biddle. We're set out to talk nerdy stuff, tech, Linux, BSD, around a virtual water cooler. Anything that is Linux and open source related is on the table for discussion. We've got some things in the docket, but first I want to thank Rocco for starting the Biddle community, where I truly felt like part of a member of the nicest group of people that could help me out in a lot of strange situations, and I could help other people out. It's what I like the Biddle community for. And I'm just here to kind of help foster it along. So what we have on the docket today for what we've been doing in Linux, some Linuxing. I didn't talk about it ahead of time, but if someone did something in Linux, I'd like to hear about it. Our GhostBSD exploration, talk about some new distros, and see whatever organically develops from there. So, did anybody have anything that they've been doing, any Linuxing, exciting Linuxing activities? Jinda?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Tell me.
Oh, it was Jinder was first, was he? He can go first if he wants.
No, I was just thinking that there were nothing exciting.
And I was creating a persistent USB on MX Linux 21 while trying out their live boot menus, because they wanted some real hardware situations. So I thought I would try that out. It was quite interesting.
Yeah. Did you file some reports or whatever, or are you just trying things out?
No, I just made a video, and I don't think there was really any reports to be made. So everything seemed to have worked okay. But knowing Dolphin, if he does see my video, he'll probably pick something up. He has done in the past.
You know, you've just imparted some guilt onto me. Not that I'm Catholic, but I do feel like I should probably look into MX again. I haven't been in MX in a while. Things have been busy, and I really love MX Linux. And I have a machine that I just dug up out of in my unpacking today that says it's screaming for me to put MX Linux on it. So I think
it does run very well on the lower spec hardware as well, MX Linux. I haven't tried their, because they've got a KDE one too, so I haven't tried that. Might give that a shot as well, I think.
Yeah, it might be fun. Well, let's talk about it at the end of Biddle, and we're looking at. Well, let's revisit that conversation, because this sounds like a good conversation to have. Anybody else want to share something they've been doing? Dale, I don't know if you said you've been downloading a bunch of ISOs. I don't know if there's anything interesting you've tried besides GhostBSD.
Off the top of my head here, let me see if I still have them in my downloads folder. Well, there's one I was trying called Zero Linux. I'm thinking it's like an independent person, as far as I can tell, and it's plasma based, Arch spin, and he's using Calamares, but he is actually taking advantage of a lot of the customizations that Calamares allows distro developers to do. So it looks like a vanilla Calamares, but it has the ability, like he's using the ability to install packages in the install phase. So
you said it's Arch based?
Yes.
Okay, so it does pull from the Arch repos?
Yes, that's what I'm assuming. I haven't been able to get it to install, but that's what I'm assuming. So, but the other ones that I had downloaded were basically ones you've already gone over. Like I checked out the KOS or Chaos, however they want to pronounce it.
I don't know.
And I still have elementary on my T430, but still looking at it. And the other one was that I haven't yet installed yet was Gecko, which is based on I'm not sure if it's my mind just went blank. I was working all day, so my brain fade, but it's a OpenSUSE. It's either Tumbleweed or it's their stable. I'm not sure which one it is. You're muted.
I've tried in the past, but not in a while. I think it's probably worth a spin also. Got some good suggestions here already. We haven't even gotten that far. We're not in that part of the show yet.
But that's the ones in space, and they're using Lumina desktop environment, which was developed by I think TrueOS, the people that make the FreeNAS, before they ended life on that operating system and turned it into the GUI for the FreeNAS product.
Okay.
It has an interesting history because it started out as a FreeBSD spin, and they rebased it, I think, in 2017 or 2018 on Void Linux. But that's all the Linuxing I've been doing.
That's cool. And I see Adam has joined us. Welcome, Adam.
You see
Nope.
nothing.
Okay.
No one's here. How's it
All right.
going,
Well, it's just a fig Newton of my indigestion, it appears, I guess. Well, welcome. Nice to have you here.
man? Yeah,
I was
good
gonna-
times.
Yeah, I haven't sprechen with you in a while, so it'd be nice to do that again. Okay, I don't know if anyone has anything else they want to share about what they've been doing in Linux. Any Linuxing? If not, I guess I'll go ahead and share my little bit. So I got a someone on the out there in the Telegram ether sent me a message with a link to something on Reddit. Basically, I was poo-pooing on OpenSUSE YaST, the system tool that they have, the control center, the centralized system. And I've heard a lot of people poo-poo on it. That doesn't do this right. I don't like how it does this, or it messes up my custom settings. Stuff like that. And some people saying YaST shouldn't exist. It's okay. Looks like it's reconnecting. It said OBS lost connection. There, it says excellent connection again. Well, since I lost connection there for a bit, so I decided I would do an article on. Originally, it's just going to be like 8 reasons, because I like the powers of 2. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. I just happen to like those. It's a nerdy thing, I'm sure. But I did do like 8 reasons why I think YaST makes OpenSUSE awesome. And then I ended up with something like 16. I said I had to kind of cut this thing down, so then I just made it 11, so I didn't even hit the number I wanted to hit. But anyway, so just like kind of breaking down all the different little reasons why I like it, because frankly, I can't remember a lot of the terminal commands. I don't. Maybe you guys are just better at Linuxing than I am, but I can't remember a lot of the stuff, like all the really esoteric system administration type things, like doing these like really long strings of commands I see like those super users do. I can't do them. I'm not that smart. So kind of YaST makes it easier for me, and they have an ncursus environment, so that if you don't have any GUI whatsoever, if you don't have no graphics terminal, they have an all text environment that has all the same features and functions and everything else. So that's one of the things that I really like about YaST. So it makes my life easier, even if people don't like it.
YaST is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's the lazy man's way. I admit, and I'm actually totally okay with being lazy about my system administration. That's actually why I use OpenSUSE, because I can be lazy. I can just kind of laissez-faire system administration. That should be in their
I think
tagline.
it's necessarily about being lazy, in so much as it is like, why make things harder on yourself? Why commit so much to memory of these obscure ways to set up Kerberos for Active Directory integration, or setting up certain IP table settings for firewall? It's just like, if you don't have the room for that, because you have so much more important things in your life to worry about, YaST really does help in that way. Because I can just check a few boxes, fill in a couple forms, and be done with it, instead of let me commit all these configurations and stuff to my head and waste my time on that. It's a neat power, I guess, like a neat superpower to be able to pull this stuff out of nowhere. But come on, let's be honest here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the old saying goes, work smarter, not harder, right?
Mhm.
That's what they say.
And I do believe YaST can also be kind of auto-implemented, provisioned with a new install.
Yep.
So if you already have, if you're setting up a server and you have a provisioning already set up for, say, an NFS share or a DHCP server or something, that YaST can do that upon install, rather than just having to configure everything by hand, or even just using something like Salt or Ansible. why why go through the extra trouble, setting up Terraform and all this other stuff when you could just have YaST auto provision the thing at the beginning. Just making
Right.
things easier on yourself, right? It's a good
Right,
tool.
for sure. And also, they have a really neat like security dashboard, security system in there too, like a dashboard. It tells you everywhere that is that then they have different profiles. So if you have like desktop, workstation, server, stuff like that, and then they have or custom, and then and it actually tells you like it gives you a check mark or an X on the different things, and depending on how paranoid you want to be. So I think that it's neat. They have like a lot of little neat little things. I mean, could it be
They also
better?
make, sorry.
No.
They also make turning on and off the CPU security mitigations
Mhm.
real easy.
Yep, it's a drop
I
down.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's auto no SMT or symmetric multi-thread,
Mhm.
whatever, symmetric multi. I can't remember what it is, but so you can't use the whatever the additional threads, hyper-threading, that TM or whatever. Then then also you have manual, or off, but manual. So you actually just if you know what the mitigations are, the kernel whatever the kernel defaults are for manual, but then you can send additional like set specific secure CPU mitigations then in the boot parameters. So I think that's really neat. Yeah, it opens up a lot of things like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't have to like dig through Stack Exchange to find out. So it's nice.
It's way more discoverable. That's
Mhm.
the key to the tool, is that a lot of people may not even know that these things are possible on their system until they see it in their face.
Right.
That's the total difference between sitting a user of any level down in front of a graphical interface versus a terminal interface, is that when they see the graphical interface, it's obvious to them what they can and what they can't do. With a
Mhm.
terminal, once you sit in front of it, it's just like, oh, well, I can do anything. Well, no, but you got to figure out what you can do. Like,
Right.
this is not as approachable, right?
I will say though that if you're running like the fish shell, it says friendly,
does help, yeah.
but I think the fun interactive shell, because it's fun to use. I think it was it friendly. I don't even know what it is now. I can't remember. But but that if you hit tab, it actually gives you all your options. So that can kind of walk you through a lot easier. So if it, if it's something that is not in a GUI of any sorts, it's nice to be able to have that pop up or whatever. But all right, well, cool. So unless anyone else had anything else that they wanted to kick out there for the good of the 24 of us or so, dozen of us maybe. I'm assuming we're all like 3 people. That's why I'm saying that.
We are. So say we all.
Oh, and I guess Dennis is saying your volume is a bit low, like half of the rest of us.
Let me adjust that real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Appreciate the heads up.
Heads up for the headset.
Indeed.
So our instead of doing, Adam, I don't know if you've been here since we started doing distribution explorations rather than a challenge and trying to live in it, because I can't live in another distribution because I'm just not good at that. I like to explore other distributions. It's what I've always been doing anyway, and just kind of see how it is. So whatever level of exploration that people want to do is what we do here now. And so, hey, thanks, Johnny. It's mighty awesome of you for that super chat. And then there's Vince. And that's when the show goes down the tubes. I'm kidding.
Oh, God, a shot at Vince.
Time to bid you adieu. No. Is my audio better?
Your audio is better.
Well, it's
Excellent.
always better than mine.
There's these little slider things that you can increase volume with. It's kind of
I
amazing.
know, it's weird.
What a novel idea.
I like it. It'd be better if you did it in the terminal, some esoteric command to
That's
adjust
true.
your
Yeah,
volume.
I should remember like an 83 character long command so that I can adjust my volume per 0.5% at a time.
Right. So you can have the finest of adjustments or something for your volume.
Then write a bash loop to turn it up further.
So I don't. Vince, is there anything in the Linuxy world that you've been doing that you might want to share with the class?
Oh, well, funny you should say that. I've written a couple of strips.
Oh,
Ooh.
So it's actually
Strips.
only one. They're only one lines. But what it does allows me to, using Rofi, quickly pull up a YouTube and search for something. So my script is called YT, and I'll put in Rofi YT and then my search terms, and it'll pull up my browser and stick in the search terms into YouTube.
And
That's
Rofi
like
is
a very. Oh, Rofi is a launcher. So
Like a D
it's
menu?
sort of. So yeah, but more like Spotlight in Mac, just to put it in terms that you would
oh,
understand,
okay,
Adam.
okay.
Right? It's
I
a
don't know what it
graphical.
is.
It's a little graphical window that opens up in the middle of the screen.
Okay, so it's not integrated in like the polybar or whatever kind of thing.
No, but D menu's nice too. It'll work there too.
Is it like uLauncher, is it? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Or KRunner.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right. We said K-Runner. Now you're speaking my language. Now I got it.
Yeah. I've got to put it in everyone's language, you see, because half the time you don't understand what I'm saying, right?
So you're multilingual. This is very interesting. I didn't know this about you, Vince.
So that was my excitement, but that took a while just to get some of the syntax right, because you got to be able to stick the search term into the address thingy that you're going to put into the browser, and each term needs to be separated by a little plus, and so I had to use SED to stick that in and somehow make it work. That's tough. SED is tough.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things you gotta keep practicing at, learning said.
Yeah, it's you're beyond me. The most I do is
Anyway, so I said script. It was only one line, so.
the most I do is like I have a script that's tied to an app, a menu item that just does certain like silly things like to power off like the backlights of the monitors and like put in power save mode without actually doing just it's really dumb things is all I do. You know, there's nothing really that
that's valuable.
exciting. Or manually turning on and turning off devices at the PCI level. So that's another silly one. Just because like I have one computer that has like the Wi-Fi just kind of like has an aneurysm, like it doesn't know what to do. It can't do anything. So I have to like power cycle. It's an older machine, so I have to power cycle it, and I just made a little click, and it does that, and then it comes back, and everything's fine. Because I can't like resetting the network, the system decontrol, that doesn't do it, and then so I tried like a bunch of other things like of the actual GUI doesn't work, but resetting it at the PCI level, that's actually what fixed it. So just silly things.
Yeah,
like
and the cool thing that a script allows you to do is if you have to take multiple steps to do that normally, you just run that script, and it'll just do all those steps for you and saves a lot of time and effort.
Right. And it will do the same thing every time.
Right. And then you don't have to remember it
Changing the
because
volume.
and you don't have to remember it then too. Just what it looks like, the icon you chose. That's sometimes the hard part, actually.
Until
Remembering
something
that.
breaks and you're like, what was this thing supposed to do again? How did I make this happen again?
Yeah, when they change like the syntax of some underlying piece of it, so that the command no longer works, you have to figure out what they changed. That's
I think
fun.
it's why they pay me at work. I think it's just to fix things that I made.
I mean, that's cool. If you can get yourself a good gig
You
like
got to
that.
keep yourself in a job.
Yeah. I just gotta build in like purposeful failure into it to keep me around.
you
Have a
build in
timeout.
A time bomb of sorts. Yeah.
you build in your obsolescence on
Hey,
the
you know.
scripts. Yeah, that makes sense.
Looking
Gotta
out
have
for
it.
number one.
Totally, I get it. Well, all right. With that, I think we'll move on to the distro exploration. So what we did this week was GhostBSD by request. I think everyone that actually said let's do it isn't actually here tonight. So there is that.
Spectacular.
It's all good. I don't care. People show up. Like Peter. I know Peter was all about it, and he's not here. Maybe he'll come later. I don't know. So I just called you out, Peter. Do you have to say his name 3 times, and then he'll show up? Is that how it works?
I think you might want to write a script to saying his name over and over again just in case.
With the e-speak. That
Yeah. Oh god.
Peter, where are you? Well, anyway, so we have some rules. This is a discussion by which only objective and constructive conversation will be conducted of this product. Non-objective opinions like this is garbage is not helpful. Rather, if you say, I wish it had this feature, or I really need these features to allow me to do, fill in the blank, that's benefiting the conversation. The point is to highlight the positives and not just ignore the lowlights of the project as well. So it's a labor of love for somebody, so let's not poo-poo on it. So anyway, the exploration of GhostBSD 21.05.11, the release. So we'll talk about the different aspects of it. And so what we'll do is the difference of this time versus how we normally do it, or we've done it in the past, is we're going to talk about the different aspects of it, and then so anyone can chime in on those aspects rather than go around the virtual room and have everyone tell me all their notes, because something might pop to memory. So the installation process, how was that for any of you? Did you find that it was more difficult, less difficult? Did it seem? What did you think of it?
I followed. I was watching Dennis's videos. Dennis is in chat today.
Oh,
He
good.
is part of his channel is Life, Home, and My Linux Journeys. So I might put a link to that if you don't mind.
Actually, I would love it if you put a link to that in the chat, because
Yeah,
this is something
okay.
that somehow I did not know this, and then
And he's been, and also the other person is Robo Nuggy. He does a lot of BSD stuff as well.
okay.
So I'll just quickly put Dennis's link in.
Yep. And any
Sorry about
resources? Nope. This is great. Any resources that you have, please share them with the class. Don't hoard your knowledge.
And so I followed his. I think I'm just trying to remember what I did with the install. There's something happened that I think I had to reinstall. It didn't work. I think I did something. It did have the ZFS file system, I think, and it didn't give you any other option. So I don't know if that's normal for. Is that right? ZFS, I think it was. But it's installed and it's running, so that's the most important thing. But it was slightly different to what I'm used to anyway.
Yeah. Did you have trouble finding the installer? Because I
No.
did.
What you mean? No, because it's on the desktop, yeah.
It wasn't
The
on my
installer
desktop.
is- Huh? It wasn't on your desktop.
Nope. It wasn't. My desktop was
Oh.
totally blank. And
I
I
just double
searched through
clicked.
I searched through the menus, and it wasn't there either. And and then I went on the website, and it said you have to run GBI in the terminal, and then it launched. From there, I was actually okay.
That's interesting. Did you? Maybe it's something to do with the when you first boot up, because there is a lot of options there. But if you leave it on the default option, puts you into a live desktop.
Yep, I did the number 1, which is the multi-user entry.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Well-
I don't know what. Did you check your SHA-256 some, or the MD5 some to make sure
No.
that you downloaded it?
No. Although, there's actually a really neat YaST tool for doing that, and now that I know that it does that,
Right.
I'm going to use that again. I'm going to use that next time. But no, I just did. I just. So when I was given, please select from the following options, I did Start X. I didn't do anything. I got like another menu after I started it. So, but no, I had to then hunt it down to find on the website itself.
Oh, that's interesting, because I just double clicked mine on the desktop and it started running, so there was no problem for me. But you in VirtualBox? You did yours
Nope.
in VirtualBox, didn't you?
No, I did mine
Oh, you
in.
didn't?
Nope, I did mine not in libvirt. So QEMU KVM.
Oh, QEMU. Oh, okay, maybe it's a QEMU problem then.
That could
I had
be.
I had a lot of difficulties on VirtualBox to even get it to light up. I had to change the settings on the display. I pretty much went through them one at a time to try to finally get a screen to come up, because it kept on going black.
Well-
It took a lot more power to run also than like a regular Linux distro.
Did the lights dim on your house?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I threw about 8 gigs of RAM in it and 2 processors before I actually got it to be, I think, more usable than slow. And I don't know, I'm assuming that's a VirtualBox thing, not a BSD thing, but I don't know.
That could be. I don't know. I threw four cores and 8 gig at it is what I did, and I didn't have any problems really after it started.
Oh, I started off slow on purpose to see how efficient the
okay.
operating system was, to see what would happen. And it's like a Linux operating system doesn't seem to care as much as this one did.
I did
that's
notice.
very.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Nate. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. Go ahead. I'm just here to
No, no,
foster.
I just wanted to add. Now, granted, I'm going off of my notes that when I did my review for this on November, I think, for distro hoppers, and so some of this may have changed in the intervening almost year since then. But I tried it on my Lenovo T430, and I only have 4 gigs of RAM, and it installed without any problems. So I'm wondering if there's some virtualization overhead or something where it's having to do some stuff in the background to emulate what the BSDs need, because I don't really think they're really optimized for the BSD kernels, is what I'm thinking it is, because I don't really know of very many people that, excuse me, that virtualize BSD, because I do know that they have Beehive, but that's their own virtualization to run, Windows or Linux or stuff on the BSDs. And they also have their other, I'm blanking on their name, but they also have their other thing that they can, the jails, the FreeBSD jails, where basically they could run virtualization on top of themselves, but it's only for other, the same BSD. If you know what I'm saying, last time I tried it, you can select the version of BSD you want to use, and then you can actually run a virtualization instance on top of it. So I'm thinking that's what could possibly be the issue.
Well, I didn't really have any issues with libvirt really, outside of it kept grabbing my mouse, and I had to force it to let go of the mouse by hitting Control and Alt, essentially. That was the only issue that I had. Otherwise, it seemed to run fine.
Actually, I'm wondering, did you run under UEFI or legacy? Nate, that's what I want to know.
I ran it under legacy.
Legacy, yeah, okay, yeah, because there is a problem with running under EFI as well.
Okay.
When installing.
So what did you think of the default application selection? Do you think it was all right? Do you think it was it enough? Do you have to install more applications?
Let me check. I'm looking now. I can't
There was
remember.
one thing that I found lacking, and that was Nano. Wasn't there? Interesting choice.
Problem.
No, well, when I watched Dennis do his videos, he uses EE. Is it called? I think it's called EE, which looks like a fairly basic editor. Don't know what it's actually called, but so you want me to run through the default apps, or not?
Well, it's just whatever you think is useful for everyone to know. I mean, is there something that you wish they would have had, or did you think that was fine what they had?
I think it was fine what they had, to be honest. I think they had pretty much enough. They got Rhythm Box and VLC, so there's your music and videos covered. And they got Firefox, Transmission, and Shotwell and Eye of Mate. So I think they got no Office program though, but probably easily installable, I suppose. I think there's enough there to get you going, pretty much. Unless you need an Office program, I don't think that'd be too hard to install.
I couldn't find a way to install any snaps or Flatpak. I'm just kidding. I didn't.
No,
look
there's
for that.
not.
I didn't look for that. I was totally being obnoxious. But there
Where was System D?
was no System D. Speaking of that, there was a talk that I watched. This was probably 4 years ago or so. Basically saying it was a BSD talk from a BSD group, and it was a guy saying we need something like System D. It was basically what the whole talk was about, and he gave all these reasons why, as far as how the systemd takes care of all these other little things, and they're not, and so forth. It was a really interesting talk. If I ever think of it, I'll hunt that down and share that in the BDLL Telegram. Yeah, Octo
When I-
package. That's what it was, right? That
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I had troubles trying to get it to update and install packages. I had to go online and read how to fix it. Evidently, there's some bug or something where you have to type in some commands to get it to fix it. Because every time I went to go, search, like say install Firefox or something, there was nothing there. It was empty. So I had to go into a terminal and run a whole slew of stuff, and eventually it did update. The other thing I have to say is it took, I don't know, forever to update. It was so slow to update. I checked my internet connection, I'm watching it, I'm going, I don't know what it was doing, but it took a long time.
Well, I'm updating now as we speak.
Okay.
There was about a gig worth of updates,
Ah,
so it's still running. But I'm doing it through the what's called the update station, which comes out of the box with GhostBSD.
okay.
And there's also a software station as well to install software. But you start typing in that, and it looks like it's not doing anything, but it takes forever for what you've typed to finish off. So I don't know. Looks like that just needs a little bit of work, that software station. But at least there's something there too. It does work. It just it lags heaps. That's the only problem with it, I've found.
Yeah, I had the exact same issue. And when I did install things, everything was always an older version of everything. A few
Right.
things were up to date, but most of the things that I tried out weren't.
So when you say older, do you mean like Debian older, or like Ubuntu LTS older? Which
I just looked at like Firefox, what version we were on, and they were
Okay.
like, I don't know, like 8 or 9 behind.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like just a couple of points. Everything was a couple of, numbers behind everything I try to install. I mean, I didn't think that was a big deal. I'm just pointing it out.
Okay. So I had to spend a lot of time, like most of my time with my exploration was spent trying to get the network to stay up. Like it wouldn't, I had to go and find out all these BSD commands for making the network active. Like on the VM side, everything was active, and I was using a FreeBSD contain like like configuration, which I think GhostBSD is very related, is closely related to FreeBSD, because GhostBSD is not one of them. But it was an issue with the VM, like something in the operating system itself. I had to go through manually, like ifconfig, a rather long string of things just to get it to activate the network, and try a lot of things. Like I went through basically like a list of things before I could actually get it online. And so that was my biggest hurdle, which kind of really made it difficult to explore once, because I spent so much time doing that. Did anyone else have any network issues or getting it to activate network wise?
No, mine's in VirtualBox running fine. Hasn't faltered at all. So no issues there from my end.
I didn't have any issues. I was able to connect to my my Samba server, which I did find a quirky thing. And like I said, this was from back in November, so like I said, this could have been resolved since then. But one thing I thought was kind of weird was I could view like pictures, like JPEGs, PDFs, and stuff like that, and it would open fine. But if I tried to use like VLC, or let me see if I can find in my notes here, MPV, wouldn't, it was a long pause where it'd sit there and you thought it was like buffering, and then it would come up and say that the fuse mount is not responding, which kind of baffled me because I could open PDF. Like I said, I could open up writer documents because I installed LibreOffice on it, which ironically, what was previously mentioned, it's hit and miss about the version numbers because now, granted, like I said, this is back in November, Firefox was at version 82. And if I remember correctly from back in November, I'm thinking that was fairly recent, I think. It may have been maybe a version behind the current, Linux Firefox. But VLC, I have my notes here, was at 3.0.11, which I think was fairly current. But some stuff was sort of like Debian stable era type old. But as far as the network, that's the only networking issue that I seem to found, because I was even able to connect to my printer using cups because it was already configured with cups, and I was able to print to my HP, which sometimes is difficult even with a Linux distribution, depending on the distribution.
You're muted, mate. Nate.
I appreciate that I didn't have to do anything to get the multimedia codecs. I would just right out of the gate, it just worked. So I could do all the online things. Now here's something I didn't try, and I just thought about now because Adam's here, and since Adam, I know he likes to play them their video games from time to time. Do you know if you can do like Steam gaming on BSD? Does anybody know? Has anybody tried that?
I don't believe Steam works on BSD because it is a Linux application, unless there's some kind of Linux compatibility layer. But the NVIDIA driver, I know they do have a binary NVIDIA driver that works on BSD. So assuming the performance and such for that, I don't know, does BSD have Vulkan? Because if it does, then that would open up a lot. Assuming there's some kind of Linux compatibility layer there.
I do know that there is some sort of a shim that does exist, like some sort of a Linux shims in BSD land, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I when I reviewed FreeBSD 13 when it was released so many months ago, whenever it was, I would have to look at the date. But when I reviewed that one, I took the look. Words are hard. When I took a look at it, it's called, and it's very hard to say, the name, they take the naming conventions from Linux, since we have really, really well descriptive names in Linux. Well, BSD is following us. It's called Linuxulator. Sounds like something from a Mel Brooks movie. But the Linuxulator, what it does,
Sounds like a
I just-
farewell. Linux you later.
Okay, I found it. I was going through our Google Docs for my review of FreeBSD, and I just finally found it. And I was scrolling down to my notes here for the review I did. Okay, here's my notes. It said what I wrote here. It is a emulation layer to allow Linux binaries to run on FreeBSD, and pretty much you need to edit some of the config files for the support, and it's basically you load this it'd be the equivalent of like a what would you call it, a module for under Linux boot time, like my brain's just not working tonight. I had a long day's drive. Kernel drivers, when you do like NVIDIA and the others, the kernel virtual device, Kate, or whatever those are. I'm stumbling over my words. Anyways, it's loaded the same way, and then you have to actually set up like mount points where you actually have to load like a /proc and a couple other necessary Linux related file systems. So basically, you're reconstructing a file system for Linux, and then you have to edit some other config files, and then in order for the binary support to work, and I'm not sure if they've changed this, like I said, since November, but you actually have to, on your Linux machine, if you want, like, let's just say you want like Telegram, or you want your favorite text editor that's not on BSD, you would use LD to find out what libraries are associated with it, and then you actually have to copy all of those libraries onto your FreeBSD box and follow their instructions on how to do it so that that application can load those files. So it's, yes, you can run Steam and etc., but it's pretty much like wanting to drive to the grocery store to buy some groceries, and you have to put the car together in order to go there.
That's fair. Max said in the chat, Max Henny said in the chat that there are apparently some people play or use the Windows client for Steam and Wine on BSD, although it's very limited. So that, I guess that's an interesting option. And I want to welcome Anthony. Welcome to the stream. I don't know if are you a BSD aficionado?
Actually, no, I use Linux.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I do too. I'm using it right now. It works pretty great. I like it. Well, welcome. Did you try GhostBSD at all? Did you happen to do that, or have you been, if you've like hung out on the previous streams or not? I'm not sure.
I haven't been on this stream in many years.
Well, I'm glad you
In a
came
few
back.
years. Mhm.
As you can tell, I'm not Rocco.
I know.
I'm much less svelte than that. So, so welcome. You can chime in anytime. We're just kind of in the middle of our experience of exploring GhostBSD, and
Okay.
right now we're just talking about the how if you could do Steam gaming, and just kind of getting some feedback from the community. I thought was really interesting. So now
Oh, that's
Linux.
nice.
Linux Ulator is it like an emulator for Linux? So is it like a shim then? Is that I didn't click on that link because I don't want to cause crazy things to happen over here.
From what I read, this, without going back and reading my FreeBSD review and wasting time here, from what I can remember, because of the open source nature of Linux, I think what they did, and it is kind of a sticky wicket to use a metaphor there, because we use GPL and MIT and other types of licensing, and BSD has their BSD license, which dates back to the original AT&T Berkeley Unix. So there is some issues with using code between the two of them because of licensing, but I think they're able to use, or at least has some inspiration to create sort of like a virtualization layer using some of the Linux kernel. The way I understand it is it loads like a Linux kernel as a kernel module. Similar, like I said, if you're running like ZFS on Linux, or you have to load the shim support for like the NVIDIA drivers on Linux. For the DKMS, that's the word I was searching for a few minutes ago. It's the DKMS module, like on Linux. It's similar to that, and it's a good effort. I mean, I've read online that a lot of people are using it, but there's just a lot of legwork you have to do in order to get it working. But there are people that are successfully running Steam and running Linux games on the BSDs. But that would take some dedication, I think, but it's not impossible.
That's interesting. Well, that's something that's definitely worth some follow-up reading for sure.
Oh, yeah,
Welcome,
definitely.
Joe.
Yeah.
Hello.
I just want to make sure we welcome you before I want you to sit there and like kind of that awkward silence thing, not having said anything yet. So I just want to make sure you could say at least hello and whatever else is necessary, for all those social graces that they expect of us humans.
Well, long overdue return visits. It's been a while. So.
Yeah, it's been a while. Well, we also Anthony's. It's been a while since Anthony visited us as well. I actually don't remember last time he was here, but I don't have the greatest of memories, so don't hold me too hard to
You're all
that.
better than Vince.
Well, I'm not.
That is true.
I don't have that svelte hair of his. So there you go. That's word of the day, svelte. I said it twice now. 3. Any other any comments about the default applications or user applications that you may have installed to be able to use GhostBSD?
I think they're pretty good, except for not having an office. But
Okay.
I don't see that being a problem anyway.
Well, how many of you here do use a local office application? Like, do you do? Yeah, I do as well. So I don't know if Jinda, do you use local office applications? Okay. I'm going to guess Adam doesn't because he probably doesn't even have local game applications anymore.
Google Docs.
Google Docs. Okay, I figured as much. And Colin, do you use a local office of any kind?
I do if I have the need for it. I use the local ones. Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Not
a
very
daily
often,
user.
though.
Yeah.
You're a daily user, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't use that stuff much anymore. I don't have a need for it, but
Okay.
if I do, because sometimes I'll put spreadsheets up in videos and that, so I do use it every now and then, but not as often as I used to.
Okay.
Mm.
And Joe, you said you use them?
You talking about something like Libre or something?
Yeah,
like that?
LibreOffice or
Yeah,
Free
I've
Office
been
or
on
something.
LibreOffice. Actually, it was OpenOffice back since 2006, and then I switched over to Libre when they kind of were deprecating it, and I've been on that ever since. I don't much like Colin. I don't use it nearly as much anymore, but I still have it on here, and it serves its purposes when necessary. So
Yeah, that's right,
Being
yeah.
retired, it's not as much of a need.
I gotcha. So Anthony, what about you? Are you a local office user or are you more of a cloud office user? Or don't use it at all?
I use LibreOffice or AbbeyWord.
Okay. Ooh, AbbeyWord. That's an oldie but goodie. Nice to throw that one in there. I haven't used that
Yeah.
one probably in a decade and a half or so.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, cool. Yeah, I would need to have something like LibreOffice for me to use it regularly. I didn't try and install it, but that's something that I would actually need. I mean, I could probably get by with a, Google Docs like Adam, but I find that I'm in situations pretty frequently where I don't have internet or my internet has to go through my phone or I don't want to pay for it. So I use a lot of local. I use a lot more local now than I used to actually than a few years ago, because of situation changes and whatnot.
I mean, I will use Google Documents on occasion because it's something that can be used on any machine as long as there's internet connection.
Right.
And so that's the advantage that gives me. It depends on if it's something I need to be universal or not.
Right. And the collaboration ability of Google Docs is pretty great, I must say. So I don't know if it's Gurandanu. I don't know how to say that name, so I apologize. It says Google Docs can work offline too. Okay. I've not been able to do that successfully. I did have that offline thing activated, but then it would after a while it would just kind of choke and then something wouldn't work for a while. So I don't know. Well, cool. What general user experience for GhostBSD? Is that something that you would could see yourself using regularly throughout the day? For those that tried it.
Actually, I like the way they presented the Mate desktop. It looks quite nice and modern.
Okay.
So I like the effort they put into that, and I could probably use it, but I haven't used it long enough to say whether there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road or not. That's the only thing, because I've only just sort of messed around with the small amount of time I've had in VirtualBox. But, to be honest, when you put something on a computer and you start doing your daily things, that's when you really find out whether it's for you or not, to be honest. It's not until you get to that point that you understand whether you can use it.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But Jinda, you laughed at that question, so I would like maybe a little bit of an explanation on that laughing.
I just had so many issues with it. Every time I tried anything, it just was a more difficult process than I was used to.
So Dennis in the chat says they're paper cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'd have to love the BSD philosophy. I think largely. So I did a straw poll on the in the BDLL Telegram, and so I said, could you see yourself using GhostBSD or something like that on the reg? I think. Could you see yourself running GhostBSD as your daily driver operating system to get all your digital tasks done? So 53% said no, not my cup of tea. 47% did not try it, and 0% said yes. I voted no on that as well, but only 15 votes, 15 out of 331 members. So that's fine, I guess. You know, if you didn't, you know, if you couldn't use it, I'd be interested in knowing, like, if because I know that Peter, he's not here, but I wonder like what his experience of it was. I would really like to have heard that.
Well, I'm going to restart the update now and see whether Firefox is updated to a greater version or not. So I'm restarting it now, see what it does. That was a big update, that one. That's been running since we started.
How much how big was the download? Any idea?
I believe it was a gig.
Okay, that's a lot.
Unless it was a gig in total once it's expanded, I don't know. I did see a gig there somewhere.
So Garundu says in the chat that Linux got too good, so people who want to suffer move to BSD now. So,
well, that's what it's like, isn't it?
I used to have a
Also-
nickname for it, but I don't know if I should say it or not in case there's BSD lovers in here.
no,
And it's family friendly. It's family friendly, but
you can say it. It's fine. It's totally cool. I don't think anyone here is going to be.
I used to call it Big Stupid Linux, but or Big
Yeah.
Stupid Distro.
Yeah, BSD. I've used it. I feel like 20 years ago when I first started using Linux, almost 20 years ago now. 20 years ago.
Which, in fairness, though, I've never given it a try, so I can't talk. That's not even a fair comment for me to
Yeah.
make. But it's just, it's one of those. You saw the comment I put in there, but I said all the years that we've been trying distros and stuff, that was just one that never caught my fancy to even want to try it, and I don't know why. But I think maybe it's because you hear it's one of those. I think that you either absolutely love it or you don't, and I've just kind of stayed away from it, and maybe it's something. Out of morbid curiosity, I should give it a look. I don't know, but I've been so happy on what I've been on for over a year. I haven't really even looked at much else. So
What are you on now, Joe? What are you running? Linux
I've
Mint?
been on Manjaro KDE since
Manjaro KDE
last summer. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
It's
nice.
over a year now. Yeah.
I think last I checked it was you were on Mint, I thought, but I could be.
Well, that was before that. That was right before I went to this. I actually, if you remember right, it was just a a hiccup. I was on that for 22 months, and I was having trouble with the cinnamon spices, and I wound up reinstalling, and come to find out that they took the website down. And we're doing a server upgrade and never let anybody know. And I thought something was going wrong with the distro, and that was enough to aggravate me to get off it. And then Michael Tennell suggested this, and I've absolutely loved it ever since.
Yeah, I think that Spices, I think they've integrated with the updates and that. I think that's probably why that was all happening in the background, probably. Because on the latest update, I think the Spices are part of the update thing in the update tool. In the Mint update, so
okay. Well, it's not that I'd never recommend it again or anything. It's just it was one of those things that after I kind of got mad at the idea that put a notification out or whatever, and I did some searching and then finally I found their website again. I went to the website and the website was down, and I thought, well, maybe. And then I saw a notice that they were redoing their server. So, and I wasn't the only one that had that experience, and it's just one of those things that it wasn't really the right way to do it, I guess, so I still think Mint's a good distro. So I don't want to take you off track here, but
well, I just wanted to let you know that Firefox was on 88.01 on install. After the update, it's now on 91.02.
Yeah.
So I want to try the update. I want to try the, what was it called? The software station to see whether that's improved after that. So I'll just plod along here and I'll let you know my findings.
That's cool. So you said version 88 point what?
It was on 88.01.01. Now it's on 90, what did I say, 92 or something. Let me check
So,
that again.
I'm at 91.01. So it looks like I did update. Because it's supposed to be a rolling distribution.
Yeah, 91.02 it's on. So it must
Okay.
be the
Oh.
latest then.
Well, cool. So it's not Debian then. It's faster than that. That's cool. So would you say if for somebody, let's say they want to, like what would be like a unique position you could say like why someone should give GhostBSD a try? Like if you're like trying to sell it like to the best of your ability, if you want to say you're going to sell GhostBSD, what's something unique about it or that would be enjoyable for people to or a good reason to try it, I should say.
Well, I think it would all come down to your philosophies. I think if people had a certain philosophy and they didn't like, which a lot of people say, System D and all this sort of stuff, maybe that's another option for people. And if you're not a gamer and you just like to use a computer on a day-to-day basis, just do the home and online general things. I think BSD would be a good option. Don't know about security and stuff. To be honest, I wouldn't know.
For me, it feels like they've done a lot of work for the user experience. It was a lot more shiny than I had envisaged it to be, because I guess my preconceptions of BSD was that everything's back from 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I originally thought, but it was a really nice way into BSD. It looked like a very modern system. There are a few things that probably could do with some improving, like Colin mentioned with the software center. That seemed pretty clunky for me as well. But it seems like if you're interested in BSD, if you're kind of curious about the licensing and some of the things that you can do in it that you can't maybe do in Linux, then yeah, give it a go, I reckon.
Yeah, I would say if like obviously it's not for me, but if nothing else, I think it's worth just seeing how another group envisions what the correct answer is for, or what another solution for your digital work, I guess. And it does feel lean as far as like how it performed. I know Mate was a nice implementation of Mate, so as far as like user experience, as far as the the interface is concerned, I thought that was great. But it really like I didn't feel like I was gaining anything by using it. Like I didn't have like a net gain or maybe a couple of high marks someplace. That I felt like it was just it was okay, but nothing really stuck out to me as being really cool or like a really awesome feature. Like previously like elementary OS, their user experience, KOS, sorry Eris, that would be like a they had their a very focused plasma role.
Windows, Mac, Linux type thing where they want the GUI. And I think that's where that falls down a little bit. That's just my 2 cents. Looks like Nate's still out being held hostage by the crickets.
No, he's here.
I'm back.
He's here?
No, but I'm
okay.
being held hostage by my own. I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. But hey, there we go.
I can't remember. Somebody came over agenda, or one of them was saying that you were being abducted by the alien crickets.
Well, maybe they're angry with me because I annihilated their colony.
I was wondering if you ran up on the roof to adjust your antenna.
No, I just lost connection
No, I know.
to everything. So there you go. That's what happens sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
So I've just
Hey,
done a search for. Sorry, Dale.
No, I was clearing my throat. Sorry. I thought I was muted.
Oh. I've just done a search for LibreOffice in the software station, and the LibreOffice version is 7.2.04. That sounds very much up to date.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a lot of up-to-date packages. I'm just wondering, Jinder, which was the one that you said was...
You know, I strongly starting to think it was something to do with all the update troubles that I had with it, because it just took forever to get this thing to work. And I did get it.
Okay.
I did get stuff to work, and I can't remember what. I know I installed Barrier. I think I installed Clementine. I installed a couple of things, and a few things seemed, you know, maybe a couple of points out of date, but not enough to, like I said, not enough to jump up and down about. It was just one of the things I noticed.
I'll check Clementine and see what that is.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. I think it was Clementine that was like a point out, and I can't remember. I know I tried a bunch of different things. I should have made notes. You think you can remember something and you never do, right?
No, I never make notes either. That's sometimes my biggest downfall.
I take notes for everything, but I don't necessarily always remember what the meaning was of my notes.
Yeah, I have that trouble too.
Dude, so get on that line of thought. I had a Gmail account that I made back in like 2004, right? I would have been, I don't know, like 17 at the time. And, you know, they ask you to like create a security hint or whatever, you know, to like get your password back. Well, my wonderfully brilliant young self put in the thing that says, you should know this. Well, okay. At 30, I don't know this. So I don't have access to that account anymore.
That's funny.
Because my 17-year-old self just had to be a smart aleck and, you know, do that.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yeah, there was another. I actually did something very similar, and I'm still ashamed. But it was actually on my own internal network, and I put something. And this is only a few years ago, and to an access point, I put something like in the notes. I put it's what you always use, and no, it wasn't. So. I had to spend a lot of time resetting up a bunch of stuff because, you know, I was a jerk to me. So I was a jerk to future me, and that's actually probably a good thing to think about. Don't be a jerk to future you.
Yeah, really.
Well,
Clementine is sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Clementine Jinder is 1.4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of the applications in there after the update are fairly up to date anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
So
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I was just before I forgot because I was going to mention this before, but his name escaped me, and it just popped back in my head. A good resource if anyone does want to get into the BSDs or any of the projects that the BSD maintainers maintain, like SSH and the SS, you know, the OpenSSH, SSFTP, and other things, is Michael W. Lucas. He has pretty much cornered the market. Mostly because I don't think there's any other people that are writing books, but he has a lot of good information on ZFS. He has a book called ZFS Mastery. He also has books on SSH and the other TLS security protocols and some other stuff. I just wanted to mention that because he's really brilliant when it comes to this stuff. He was a long time, I think he still is, a sysadmin. I'm not sure if he's still a sysadmin, but he's been a good resource for the BSD community.
Well, that's good.
Just on remembering your password, I do remember a meme that was going around a little while ago that said, if you use the password incorrect, it will tell you that your password is incorrect.
But then
That's
it tells
funny.
everyone else that your password is incorrect.
That's not very nice. Not good security practice. Well, as far as distributions go, I think it was good to do a BSD this time. I think it was just to see how the other nerds out there do their thing. I guess I think GhostBSD was a good one to do. But I had some suggestions from people in the community about what we should try next. One was Magia. We did that some time ago. They said they're doing some interesting things there. Another was OpenMandriva. And then what was brought up today, trying either MX Linux, since I think they're in a beta phase right now, I believe. Is that true, Dale?
Yeah, I think they're starting to rebase on Debian 11 because I think they want to get the new Plasma too that Debian has in Debian 11 as well, because they have the last time I tried MX, it was a very, very, very old version of Plasma. I think like 5.14 or 5.15. So I think Debian 11 is up to 5.20.5 now, I think.
Okay. So I don't know if that's something worth trying.
Magia.
And then Ron Singh in the chat says maybe a double shot of Fringe. How about EasyOS for the next distro? I don't know EasyOS.
Me either.
It's new, 2.9. It's an updated builder project. It's a minimalist Linux distribution with its roots in Puppy Linux. It's completely recompiled with the Open Embedded, a build framework for embedded Linux. So then, does it even have? The question would be, does it even have a desktop, or we have to live in some kind of a strange? It does have a desktop. Its origin is Australia. It's independent, and looks like it has a the live media specialist live medium. That is a trip on the Fringe for sure, Ron.
Oh, I think this is the one that Barry, the original maker of Puppy Linux, is making.
Which one we're talking about? Sorry, I was doing something else.
That's it. We're just having a show here.
EasyOS.
Colin.
Oh, EasyOS. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was zoned out there.
No, it's okay. I do that most days. I think it's interesting.
If my history is right, Barry was the one. Barry Cowler. He founded Puppy Linux.
Okay.
And he worked with them for quite some time, and then he left, but he didn't leave. I think he retired. I think it was. But then he's decided to make something else. That's, I think, a somewhat similar philosophy and might use some of the same tools as Puppy Linux. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into it if we're going to do it.
Yeah, you're right. He did end up doing that. I remember reading that on a website a while back. And so fortunately, it's been something able to continue.
It's interesting. So I guess it's a new release, so we can check that out, I suppose. Any thoughts there? What's kind of jumping out at you? Is there anything jumping out at you?
Any thoughts as to what specifically?
Any of these distributions, like Gecko, MX, EasyOS,
Okay.
Magia, OpenMandriva.
Okay. I have been following the Solus project
Okay.
ever since 2016. I heard about it in various podcasts, and then I decided to check it out in the fall of that year. And I found it to be very nice to use. typical complaints being limited package availability, but I'm hoping to learn how to get around that by packaging my own stuff.
Yeah, it looks like it just had a release on just under a month ago. No, I'm sorry, just under 2 months ago. I can't count. So I guess it's not been so long ago. Yeah,
I put it. I
What's up?
actually put it on one of my laptops, the T420.
That's cool. Yeah, that's not bad. Also, be a bad choice. So, what do you think here? We'll put it to like a little bit of a vote, and then I want to get to Adam and talk some gaming. What's new in the world of gaming? So, thoughts on anything?
I think I wouldn't mind trying Easy OS.
Easy OS.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just my thought.
I think I'd second that one.
Okay.
I think I'm game.
All right. Jinda's
I'd
got
take a look at
yeah,
take a
north
look at it too.
Sure.
north and south too.
Sounds fun.
Okay. All right. So maybe we'll throw these off all the rest off onto another day. So Easy OS it is. So our next distribution exploration will be Easy OS. Give that a try. I know since that is like Puppy Linux, I think we say Puppy Linux 3 times. I think Prophetic will join too. So maybe we'll maybe he'll jump in on it too. Okay, well, good, excellent. So Adam, I got to tell you, I did recently purchase whatever, a PlayStation 4. I realize this is not Linux talk here, but
It's actually based on BSD.
well, look at that, hot dog. Wish I had $1 million.
Me too.
Me three.
Anyway, so I found that the gaming experience for me personally, like I play like something Plants vs Zombies. I don't know which one. I can't it's kind of a fun game, but like it's I don't know, like I didn't. Am I missing something? I'm not really getting like I don't get excited about the games on the PlayStation 4. Is there something wrong with me? Don't answer that. Could there be something wrong with my taste in gaming, or am I old? I guess.
I don't think the age is the issue. Are you? I would imagine you're not particularly familiar with like modern gaming in general, right? Like
Well, that's-
you seem more of a retro kind of guy.
I am, and I do dip my toes in modern games a little bit, but not so much the AAA titles. Like to me, Call of Duty is too much like work,
no.
so I'm not into that.
Yeah, true. So some good suggestions. Two of them that come off the top of my head for PlayStation 4 that are spectacular. They have a Spider-Man game made by Insomniac Games. That Spider-Man game is amazing. It is
Okay.
super fun. It's pretty approachable, but it's also challenging at the same time. They actually made like a 1-to-1 replica of Manhattan, like Manhattan Island, and you can do all like the web swinging around Manhattan and everything. It's really immersive, really fun.
That's cool.
The traversal's super great. The combat, it's very rhythmic. Like the way you fight and everything. You unlock more and more like kind of techniques and abilities over time, and it eases you into it. So it's not like you're not gonna get overwhelmed right out the gate. But the Spider-Man game on PS4 is spectacular. Another one that you might enjoy would be God of War on PS4.
Okay.
It's so you follow this the god of war, or you follow this god Kratos, who there were previous games that were very different games than this one, but it's sort of Kratos traveling with his son, and the interesting like kind of aesthetic thing about the game is that the game is one continuous shot like the whole time. There's no like cuts or anything, so it's kind of interesting. There's no loading screens. There's no like the whole game is just one big like shot. Like it's kind of amazing how they did that. And it graphically looks amazing. It's a really fun game to play. The story is really great. as a dad, it would probably resonate with you.
Now, would it be something that like my kids could also enjoy? Because it feels like the
No.
PlayStation 4. Okay.
No, definitely not.
Because I gotta be honest with you, when it's gaming, like we do gaming nights with my kids, not tonight, but when we do them, I like to choose like a game that we can all enjoy, and I tend to kind of lean more toward the Nintendo side of things. Or we've actually done Tux Kart. That actually the kids had a lot of fun with Tux Kart.
My condolences.
Well, I mean they're kids, and I'm a child too. There's a few Steam games that like have like 4-player at once type games that we've been doing as well.
Yeah.
So,
On the PlayStation, some like fun games. Have you played Overcooked yet?
no.
I think it's also on the Switch, but Overcooked and Overcooked 2. So it's like a top-down kind of. Like a top-down game where each player controls a person in a kitchen, and the like orders will pop up, and you have to run around the kitchen and like cook them. And it seems simple, but then when like the kitchen is say on 2 different trucks, and the trucks like get closer and farther away, so you have to like go across these like trucks on a highway to build burgers and stuff. It gets absurd, but it's really fun, and it can get very very confusing when you get multiple people in there. It's a total blast.
That's cool. How many players do you know? Like at once?
Up to 4.
Up to 4. Okay. Because 4 is kind of like the target, I would say, as far as like for game nights. Otherwise, someone gets left out.
Yeah. No. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Overcooked's really fun to me. You have a PS4. You could invest in a PlayStation VR.
That sounds expensive.
It's actually not that expensive. I think you can get the whole bundle for like $350, which is way cheaper than pretty much any other larger set VR thing.
Okay.
Especially ones that don't require Facebook. But
right.
Yeah, the PSVR is actually really good. It has its deficiencies compared to the really expensive stuff, but I have a PSVR and I love it. Playing Beat Saber is really fun, which you may have seen before. It's a very now VR itself is a very single person experience, but with the way it works is the people who are around the person in VR can still see what they see on the TV screen.
Okay,
but so it's kind of socialing at the same time in some ways. There are other more inventive games. One of them is, I think it's what was it? It's like something like speak quickly and nobody explodes or something like that. So the basic idea is the person in the VR helmet is trying to defuse a bomb, and the people outside of the helmet are reading like printed out instructions on like. They say, well, does it have a purple wire? Like, no, it doesn't. Okay, does it have, this kind of thing or whatever? So it's sort of a party game, but the one person in VR is like manipulating the bomb, trying to defuse it, and everyone's trying to give them instructions to help them. So, that might be pretty fun to, have your kids try to direct you on how to defuse a bomb.
Actually, this sounds like a good time. Especially like whenever I lose, the kids always seem to point and laugh at me. And
Yeah.
Even more so now. I don't know if that's is that normal? I don't know.
Possibly.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else in the gaming world that you think that maybe people could try out, especially like family game nights that you might even on any system. I don't have an Xbox, so total.
Yeah, Xbox is kind of a bit of a wasteland for party games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Switch has probably the most available.
We have one of those too.
Yeah, Switch is probably going to be your best bet on that one. I've actually been doing a lot of fitness stuff with the Switch. Have you heard of Ring Fit Adventure?
No, I've not.
Oh, that is fun. So I've been on a bit of a weight loss journey recently, and fairly successful so far.
Excellent.
And so we've been using Ring Fit Adventure on the Switch to get some exercise, because it's kind of hot here in Georgia and I don't really want to go outside. And so the Ring Fit Adventure works as you take the Joy-Cons, like little controllers, and one of them, the left one, I believe, goes in a holster on your left thigh. So there's like kind of a mesh holster that you put it in, and then there's a Velcro strap, like a stretchy Velcro strap that goes around your left thigh. Then the right Joy-Con goes into this ring thing that's like kind of like a resistance band almost. Like it's a
Okay.
very like squishy, and you can pull it as well. It's made of some weird material, but the Joy-Con goes in there and it measures like the potentiometer, of the squishing and whatnot of the ring. And in doing so, you actually do exercises through playing the game. So to traverse the levels, you run in place, for example. So like
Okay.
you're running in place and you're going through, and there are various other things you would do with the Joy-Con, like or the Ring-Con rather, if you point it down and squish it, it'll like jump upwards, like a push air below you to jump upwards, and eventually you run into monsters, and to attack the monsters, sort of like an old like JRPG turn-based style, you do different exercises. So like you would do like a squat, and that would do damage, but they emphasize form. So if you do the squat properly, you do more damage than if you didn't do it properly. And so like it's a game, like it's definitely very much a game, but you're doing fitness things in playing the game, and it can be a lot of fun. It can be a big workout, but you're pretty fit, so you probably have to turn the difficulty up quite a bit. But
Well, I like to cheat whenever possible. So back in the
you're only
back in the
cheating
Wii,
yourself.
exactly. Back in the Wii Fit days, I would try and figure out what the best way was to cheat on a lot of different things, so I could get a better score than the kids who were actually doing it correctly. But
Oh,
then
that's
they,
fair.
yeah, but then they kind of started catching on to my shenanigans, and then it didn't. Then it kind of fell apart after that. The whole Wii Fit as a family.
Yeah. Like, I don't like exercise, Dad. Jeez.
Right. Yeah, so it was like I always back up behind them, when they're doing it.
But yeah,
Well, cool.
that's as far as like like fun family games. Those are some good suggestions, I think.
That's
and
good.
Spider-Man, while being a single player game, is kid appropriate. So
Okay.
yeah,
Was it Spider-Man? What was it?
it's just called Spider-Man.
Okay.
It's made by Insomniac Games. At least I don't think I've heard anything inappropriate on it, but who knows?
I'll check it out. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you
think
giving.
your kids would like farming, Nate?
We do it in real life now.
Well, I was gonna say because my grandson loves and I do too. That Farming Simulator 19, which now they're gonna be coming out with 22 in November. You can pre-order it. And now I will say there's a lot of mods available for console, but there's more available for PC. But it is really a lot of fun, and it teaches you a lot about farming too.
Okay, that's good. Farming Simulator, is that on Steam?
Steam, yep. Farming Simulator 19, and then, like I said, they're coming out with 22 soon. So
Yeah, that might be
and
kind of cool.
the mods really kind of make the game. There's a mod hub built right into it. That's kind of nice. You can get a lot of mods that way too. And if you're depending on if you're a Windows user, you can get some other mods. This is a Windows-based game, but I haven't researched just how to put third-party mods into Linux yet. But anything I've done from the mod hub loads, and there's a ton of them. So there's hundreds and hundreds of them. So
Farming
lot of fun.
Simulator.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Well, just look. There's a guy that I follow. There's a few channels I follow. One is called Farmer Cop. He's like 24 years old. He's a Seattle police officer, and he has a great channel. Does a lot of great tutorials. There's the Farm Sing guy. That guy, he actually is from Scotland, and I jumped in the chat one day, told him about my grandson, and he returned around and sent us a couple mugs with his logo on them and stuff. I mean,
Cool.
it's a great community of people, and there's a lot of tutorials out there, and so there's a lot of great channels. Farmer Klein, there's a lot of them. So, but I would start with those other two if you want to kind of get a sense of what it's like. It's pretty cool. And if you just want a tutorial, they all of them have tutorials on there. So,
All right, well, that's cool. I'm recording that as well. See, I'm using Biddle just to like get information, so I don't have to actually do the research myself. I don't know if you see
There you
this,
go.
my shenanigans I'm pulling here. And then you said, what was one of the channels you said I should check out?
Farmer Cop. And then the farm sim guy. There's another guy. He's kind of a personality, really upbeat guy, but he talks about a lot of the mods. DJ Goham is another one. He talks about mods a lot and stuff, and they'll do some farming collabs together. And 82 Studios, another guy that actually he'll do live streams of him building a mod. You know, within Giants actually has a software program you can download. It's Windows based, but that you can. So you'd have to have Windows to do that, but you could build your own mods on that too. It's pretty cool. It's very, very fascinating. Like I said, and the detail. This next edition is supposed to have a lot of major integration in there. I mean, if you look up the Giant software YouTube page, just the introduction to Farming Simulator 22, you'd think you were looking at real people. That's how amazing the graphics are in what they're coming out with.
Well, my oldest, he's a kid after my own heart. He tells me it's not about the graphics, it's about the fun, and so that.
You're absolutely right. But that's why Minecraft does so well too, because it was about graphics. But it's just the real. I guess the point is this is a lot of fun, but they're adding a lot of realism to it too, which actually enhances it. I guess is what I'm saying. But I agree with that too. To some level, because you think about when we were kids, and I'm going to date myself. I mean, you had Tetris and Space Invaders and all these just 2D black and white, things shooting all over the place, and we had a great time playing those.
That's true. I did. I had a black and white TV for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I kind of miss it. I wish I still had it, actually. Oh well, nothing I can do much with it. That's good. That's good information.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anyone else had anything else that they wanted to bring up as far as exciting, nerdy things. Jin has got his hand up, sort of.
I still got my black and white TV. I didn't get rid of it.
Oh, okay. But I don't. Does anyone here play with like the Raspberry Pis much at all? No. Yes. Yes.
I always do. I love those. They're so much fun. The
They
last
are.
one I tried was MX Linux for the Raspberry Pi. That's what I've been running for about a few months now, and it's probably one of the nicer ones. I would probably lean towards, if you want to run an OS, I would definitely try MX for your Raspberry Pi.
Really? MX on the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, it's very, very, very nice and very well thought out.
Well, I'm going to write that down here. MX on the Raspberry Pi.
I haven't used anything on any of my Pis in a long time.
So, I'm not going to dime him out because I know he's at least in the chat, but I did acquire I just recently found my Pi 400, as in about 3 hours ago, unpacking stuff. And there's a project that I think is worth checking out if you are into like RetroArch. I'm sure people have tried RetroArch. Many people have. Maybe not. Maybe that's just me. There's something called PiMega. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it turns your Raspberry Pi. It works around the 4 or the 400, and you can have a full-fledged modern Commodore Amiga, but really fast on the Raspberry Pi. And it's actually a really good experience if you want to try out Amiga stuff. But PiMega, it's a really neat project, and I've enjoyed that quite a bit. I'm just now going to get back into using it because I haven't touched it in a few months. But I'm chomping at the bit. I ran out of time today because of Biddle, and I don't want to cancel it and say no Biddle because I got to play with my Raspberry Pi. So because I'll just go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you'll let you finish.
Anyway, so it's a fun project, a fun thing. Check out this guy, Chris Edwards. He actually formerly worked at Commodore, and so he's working on this project. It sits on top of Debian, which I don't fault him for that. And then has this like Amiga thing that he set up. Although I guess he inherited the project from somebody else. And it's a really neat, a really fun project. And if you ever want to check out, or just want something to try, and go to pymega.com. It's worth checking out.
See, somebody mentioned Puppy Linux, and
Yep.
there
See,
you go.
yeah, we did mention Puppy Linux, so there's prophetic. Oh, I didn't hear you.
Woof woof.
So the exploration for next week, I almost said month, but next week is EasyOS, which is it's Puppy Linux related. So. And Metal Music, she Metal Music, I don't know. I can't tell. I don't see who we are. Welcome. No sound. No. I got a hello in the chat. So anyway, so prophetic. Have you? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I've interrupted you twice now. So you can say something.
So you're mentioning RetroArch a moment ago.
Yes.
Neat little thing. It's been just a known thing for a while, but I finally got around to enabling the developer mode on my Xbox Series X, and was able to install RetroArch on there.
Nice.
And playing a lot of older games on a ridiculously overkill machine for the types of games on there. But it runs really well. I'm able to emulate pretty much everything from the beginning all the way to about, I don't know, PS2 is a little bit of a struggle sometimes, but Dreamcast works great, GameCube works okay, Wii works okay, like pretty all the way, and everything in between. Like it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's got a lot of power to work with, so I'd hope it would work well.
That's which Xbox?
That's the Series X, the newest one.
Oh, okay. So how did you stumble upon that, or did somebody do like a video on that? And you?
Yeah, so I've seen different things mentioning it, and there's a YouTube channel called Modern Vintage Gamer, and he covered doing it on the Series S, and it's functionally the same process.
Okay.
But and I was like, hey, I'll finally get around to trying that one day, and it's actually pretty nice because you can enable the mode. And then it restarts into dev mode, and you can access a lot of things. And then you can just restart back into your retail mode and play your normal games. So you don't have to like wipe the drive or anything. It's pretty great.
That's very cool. That would almost be worth getting just because it's ridiculous.
The Series S is the cheaper model. I think it's like $300 for that one instead of $500, and it's just as capable as when playing the retro games. So,
Metal Music, you said you got your mic fixed, maybe?
I believe so.
Yes, you do. Excellent. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for welcoming me. It's the first time I've been on this stream. I've been a subscriber for quite a while, although I have changed my name a couple of times. But yeah, thanks for welcoming me.
No problem. So I'm going to guess that you probably like classical music. Is that accurate? Based on your name?
I like a bit of everything.
Soft jazz music.
Oh, that too. I listen to pretty much everything. So
okay.
Elevator music.
Yeah.
Except for that.
Unless you're in an elevator, then you have no choice.
Well, we can't go anywhere because of lockdown. But
oh boy.
But if it was locked down in an elevator, then that'd be torture.
Yeah, that would be. That'd be like, especially if you're stuck between floors and it's kind of half open, and then you can see, that you can't really get out either. That would be that'd be awful.
Indeed.
So I'm assuming you're a Linux user. I mean, otherwise, why would you be on something called Big Daddy Linux? That'd be kind of crazy if you were not a Linux user.
I do use Linux. I've tried different distros like Manjaro, Elementary OS. I tried the other day, but to be honest, the lack of apps in the App Store is ridiculous. Like most of the stuff I'd have to install via terminal, not that I'm against that, because I actually like the terminal. But I do find that Elementary OS, the latest one in particular, just doesn't have enough apps where you can just go click, click, click and just install what you need.
Well, if you install the FlatHub, that kind of solves a lot of that for you. It just doesn't, the theming kind of is broken.
I believe they've changed that. Now. I was reading, I think it was on OMG Ubuntu, I think. They've actually put a link or something into that now. in amongst some updates that they've just done. So they've just done their first updates, major update since release. And I think that was part of one of their changes. So maybe they've listened to a bit of feedback, or maybe that was their plan all along. They just hadn't got to it. I don't know.
Interesting.
So, but that's, yeah.
Well, that's good news. I mean, for me, whatever makes users, enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm surprised to hear about Manjaro because I that's what I'm on now, and it's got stuff that you can't get on even some of the Ubuntu's. I think one of the examples is Hypnotics. If you like to watch like live TV or whatever, and it's this feed of, I haven't used it lately because I just haven't had time, but it's got hundreds of channels on there or whatever. It's just an app, but that's just one example. But my point is there's tons of stuff in there. I don't like turning on the AUR because I'm a little bit leery of that, but I do use the Flat Hub. If you want snaps, they've got snaps available. They've got everything available in there. So
That's pretty cool, actually.
yeah, I don't know when the last time you used it, but maybe give it a look again. I'm on the KDE version too, but I think all the flavors have it.
Yeah, I do particularly like the KDE versions of Manjaro.
Yeah.
I was reading something about Manjaro the other day. Somebody talking about how people are saying that Manjaro breaks all the time and whatever, and a lot of people treat it like Arch, and that's probably one of the reasons why, because they do a lot of things that you can do in Arch in Manjaro, and it's the user that actually breaks it. That's what I was reading. So if you don't treat it like Arch and treat it like Manjaro, then you should be okay.
There's a lot of truth to that, Colin, because the first couple of times when early on in this, I did do a couple of things to it because I didn't understand how to fix them. So I just reinstalled because that was to me, the easiest thing. But recently, and now again, being on it over a year, was the first time when they released a bunch of updates that it broke my printer. And I didn't know that until I went to use it. And it was a pretty simple fix. It was just the geoprint script that had to be reinstalled, and then the filters. And then I just had to simply do a reboot, and boom, it was back up and going. But that's the first time in over a year that I've had. And I just, while we were sitting here, I saw, I don't know if you saw, I typed in the message, I just decided to do a terminal update. Right. And there was 197 of them. It took 20 minutes, which is a long time for this. Normally it'll blast through, but a lot of times too, depending on if I'm doing other things, it might slow it down. But for the most part, it's been pretty good, pretty accurate, pretty quick. And I do agree with you. I think that's why I don't like the AUR on, because it seems like I had, I think it was libmagic or something that was coming in through the AUR. I turned it on only because I wanted a package out of there. And that thing seemed like it would never install right. It installed, but then you do the update, and then it would keep coming back telling you got the update over and over and over. So finally I just took it out and I shut off the AUR, and I haven't had any problems. So, but I think you're right when you say that, because when you use the AUR, that's more how Arch users would probably use it.
Yes, that's correct. So AUR probably could cause a lot of problems with that as well, I would think.
Sure, because you don't know where it's coming from, the developers.
And it's fine on Arch, I suppose, because it's just an added extension for Arch, really. But Manjaro have their own repositories, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, and that's why the AUR could mess things up, because I do think Manjaro have their own repos. Is that right?
That is correct.
Anyone know?
That
is correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the issue is, and I could be, and this is only what I'm told, and I'm this is like the game of telephone, so what I might be saying is completely inaccurate, and so I apologize for that in advance. But something about the prioritization of your repos, and as long as you have the AUR below that of the Manjaro repos, it shouldn't be an issue. But if it's like it's equal or something like that, that's when it can become a problem. So it's a matter of tuning the package manager accordingly. I could be wrong.
Well, if you turn it on in there, though, Nate, it doesn't really give you a choice. It goes through all of them. It'll check all of them for updates. But I do think it depends on where you activate them. But I do think you're correct in the sense that I think the Manjaro packages are always going to be first. But then it depends on what you've got activated after that, where they fall. I don't know that you can't specifically sequence them, though, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know what
I
mean?
thought
But-
someone said there's a priority switch or some prior, like there's each repo has a priority. Again,
Well,
I don't
it
use
may
it.
be,
I
'cause
could be way
there's
wrong.
things about it. Even till this day, I'm still learning about it. So it may very well be. The one thing that I do remember with breaking this the one time was, you know, like I'm so used to Kubuntu is where you want to get rid of old stale packages. You have a, you know, sudo apt auto remove or auto clean and you get them out of there. Manjaro has something similar to that, but they call them orphan packages. The problem is if you don't know what you're taking out and you let it take out everything that's listed there, that's how I got in trouble because it did take out packages that were shared or needed, and I wound up breaking stuff. So I just leave it alone now. I don't even bother with it, you know, because there's, you know, it's not important enough to me for the amount of quote unquote space I'd be gaining back. It's negligible.
No,
Right.
that's right. I agree.
I also don't really worry about it too because the way Tumbleweed handles updates, as soon as a package becomes obsolete, it'll remove it. So if I remove the application, I leave the libraries, eventually those libraries will just go away on their own. So I don't have to really worry about it. But I guess there's a cleanup tool in it too. But I don't worry about it because it tells me what it removes.
Right, and I think that's the same thing here. Eventually, they wind up because I can see during the updates it'll say it's removing some, or whatever. So eventually it does. I think it just eventually will take them out on its own.
Debian has auto remove as well, and sometimes it does nag you to run auto remove because there's all these packages left over. But I've never had or experienced any problems with Debian in regard to that and removing those packages anyway. So I think they're just old leftover packages. And you're right though, Joe. It only takes one of those packages that something within that system needs, and then there's your problem.
Yeah, and like an example, what the beauty of this too is much like Arch. If I want to be on the 4.14 or 5.14 kernel right now, I could do that, but I haven't. I've decided to stay on the latest long term, which is the 5.10. I think there's .62 now it's out, but this is .61-1. So I figured, hey, it's running fine. I'm gonna leave it alone, because again, that was another time that I broke it trying to put the latest one out there. I've learned my lesson with, let them get things out there, let them get the bugs, and then update it as they need it. Because Manjaro vets a lot of this stuff before they really do the updates. And like tonight, it's not super often that I see, 200 packages or whatever come down, but it's like, maybe it seems like it's, maybe once a month that I notice you'll get a big update. But there are, because they frequently update all during the time anyway. And I'm one of these OCD that I see an update, I see the badge up there, I got to do the update, but instead of letting it sit. But and the reason why is because I was gone recently for about a week on vacation. I came back and there were quite a few updates. So, you could wind up with a lot of them. And that's when the printer one happened, was when we were gone. And so I kind of like to keep on top of it, because this way it tells me which one is a little more specific, that if I have a problem, then I go, oh yeah, there was only 3 or 4 updates in this one, and I remember this, and then I can narrow it down easier than when they come back and have 100 something updates to do,
Yeah,
Right.
see, this conversation is a good argument for using Flatpaks and snaps, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Well,
app images as well, because you don't have those issues really.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because when you mentioned with the BSD with LibreOffice, and I looked in my software manager here just to see which one I am running right now, and I think it's the 7.1 whatever 15 or whatever the one that's 7.2 that's just dropped is actually the Flatpaks.
Right.
So but that's not always the case. But the official repositories is the one that I loaded with LibreOffice, so I may switch it over to a Flatpak. But
It's interesting.
Interesting.
But you do get kind of spoiled with having the latest stuff on here. I will say that much.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, Prophetic, is there anything you wanted to, did you come here with an agenda, or did you just come here with like a blank slate? I'm just curious.
Blank slate, just to kind of hang out with you guys, and it was just like icing on the cake when I heard that it's puppy related. Surprise. Yeah.
His ears went up.
Yeah. I remember cutting my teeth on like Man, I can't remember the processor that I used for recycling a really old tower and using Puppy Linux to really cut my teeth on learning what it means to install and run from RAM and all that stuff. So Puppy always have a soft spot in my heart for that reason.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got an old Dell 5100, Dell Inspiron 5100 that I got in like 2003 or 4. And I have Puppy Linux on that. It's got a Pentium 4 on it. And it runs great. I mean, it's like it's brand new. I'm amazed by how lean and fast it is.
That was what blew my mind about Puppy, was how it ran faster on the Pentium 3, faster than like the modern devices at the time with like Windows Vista or whatever it was around that time. And I think that's when like my curiosity with Linux, because I was experimenting with Linux. I wasn't really full-fledged sold on Linux. But once I saw Puppy, I think that's what, now that I'm looking back on it, that's what sealed the deal. I was like, I think I'm going to learn this thing and I'm going to grow with it forever, because if it could do this with old hardware, it can do a lot of cool things. And also it can close Windows with fire. I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick with this Linux thing for a while.
Well, best thing about your Puppy too, I don't know if you remember, because you were in, I think, the stream we were talking about it. I had an old ThinkPad laptop that had no drive in it, and I loaded it into the RAM, and it ran. It was great.
People were blown away when I was showing that.
Yeah, no drive, no hard drive at all. And they go, "How is it doing that?" It's crazy.
Isn't that running ZRAM?
I don't know about the type of RAM, but it just ran and ran.
Yeah, the software package I think is called ZRAM.
I don't know.
And that's how I think it works, because I installed ZRAM on my Raspberry Pi to get a little more, how to say, oomph out of it, because when you're writing to a flash drive, it's difficult because they're slow. But you can make a virtual drive and use ZRAM to speed it up.
Nice.
It was one of those projects I did on my Raspberry Pi to learn something, and I guess it stuck.
Well, if you think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense with the speed of it, because basically RAM is very similar to an SSD. They're chips, you know, and you don't have spinning disks, so it's going to be faster, you know, so that makes a lot of sense.
What's the downside? Like, well, I'm just kind of like a crazy question, kind of new, but why don't we see more operating systems running out of RAM?
Well, it depends on what you're doing with it. I mean, I certainly don't believe you'd be able to see a gaming system doing that, because a lot of times it's the way the resources are shared, and you know, depending where the gaming system's pulling from,
video,
you know, some of them are CPU heavy, some of them are GPU heavy, but then a lot of them pull from the RAM as needed too. And if you start taxing it too much and you got your operating system running there, it'd probably bottleneck so bad it'd freeze, I would think, or it may not even do it at all. So
imagine if you have like 32 gigs of RAM running everything off of RAM, you might get away with a lot, but for video graphic intense stuff, probably not. But
yeah, I think it's going to limit you on, depending on the what you're doing with it. If you're just doing, obviously, if you're just doing regular surfing and browsing and the basics of every day, it's not an issue. But if you're going to start doing stuff that's resource heavy, it's not going to be able to share that.
Interesting fact too about Puppy was like they have like the spirituals, you know, I guess the gems or the seeds of what we call snaps in terms of like containerized apps. Like Puppy Linux had like app puppets, or they called, or different versions of those things where it would run in a similar fashion. So it's kind of cool. I always kind of give a shout out to Puppy Linux that they had the like almost like the first iteration of those kind of app-based containerized apps.
Yeah.
It's
well,
cool.
When you think about it, the system's containerized, basically. It really is when you think about it. You know.
The bad thing was it always ran in root. That was the only downside with like Puppy Linux, was that it always just defaulted to root. And eventually they kind of had to work around for that. But
well, don't you think the other reason, well, and this is just because you're a user of it, my thought was, I think part of the reason too, it probably isn't as popular is because it's a little more crude looking. It looks very dated, you know, and
that's what kind of won me over, that charm, like the icons being like a triangle of icons in the top left corner
Yeah.
of the screen, a very unique little layout.
Almost,
you know,
like, I
window
don't want to use the word
manager.
cartoonish, but yeah, they're almost
Yeah,
kind
very
of like kid-like.
cartoonish. Yep.
Yeah.
And the logo, it's amazing how far branding and can go for like a little project like that, because that dog is just burned in my brain, and the woof woof sound, you know, that's why I started with when I came by, you know, it's just, it's funny.
That is kind of funny. There was an experimental mode in Puppy Linux where you could have it multi-user. I couldn't get it to work. I actually ended up having to reinstall after I tried playing with it, but
yeah, there were hacks to work around that kind of stuff. The different puppy spin-offs will try to do too. So it was always crude with those things.
Yeah. Well, we're at time, so I'm gonna go do like last word around, and want to appreciate everyone in the YouTube and Zoom for being here. But Jinda, go ahead and last word.
Well, I'd like to thank Nate for doing such a great job, and I'd like to thank you on being a good exterminator and getting rid of the crickets this time. And thanks for putting up with me as usual. And I can't wait to try Easy OS. See you guys next week.
Well, thanks again for being here. You're a regular face now, so I guess you're kind of like you're kind of like the mashed potatoes or the comfort food of the group. It seems like at this point.
Yeah,
Dale.
potatoes not bad. They make vodka with potatoes, right?
It's true, they do. Dale, last word.
I want to thank you again for carrying the torch for BDLL. Your work is appreciated, and look forward to this Easy OS. I hadn't heard of it, but I'm familiar with Puppy, though I haven't used it in well over a decade or more, so that's going to be new to me. So everyone have a good weekend, and if you're in America, happy what is it, Labor Day? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cheers. Well, thank you again for being here. I realize you're on the road, and so you stopped down to hang with us for a couple hours, and so it's much appreciated, and I hope to see you again.
Oh, I tried. Just because of the holiday, I had some time. I missed last week, but that happens.
It does. Colin, last word.
Yes, thanks, Nate, for putting this on. It's great. And I think Jinder was your backup today, was he? I think. I think Jinder took over a little bit.
Yeah, he was when everything came crashing down over here for a bit. I was
Those crickets.
Scrambling. Yeah, I think it was a Revenge of the Crickets, and I had to
the Revenge of the Crickets.
Yeah.
Great. It was a great chat tonight, and it was quite interesting just to have a look at GhostBSD. People. Dennis has been asking me to try BSD, and I've sort of put it off, so I've done it now. And it is Father's Day today, so happy Father's Day to Vince. I got myself a card and it says, "Celebrate Father's Day with a beer in one hand and a wine in the other." Just thought I'd share that with you. But thanks for this, Nate. Looking forward to trying Easy OS, because I did do a series of videos on. Somebody asked me to do. I did a lightweight distro challenge a little while ago now, and that was a lot of Puppy Linux distros involved in that. I don't know if I did Easy OS, so I'm looking forward to trying that out. So everyone have a great week, take care, and see you next week.
Well, thanks again, Colin. I super appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you next week. Adam, I'm glad I got you to hang out. Hope I didn't twist your arm too hard.
Not at all. Not at all.
And sorry about all that. And sorry about that pleading and crying video I sent you. You can go ahead and delete that.
Oh yeah, it's on Reddit. All right. So, well, thank you for hosting this, Nate. Thanks everybody else for showing up. It's been a good time. I haven't been here in a while, and that's okay. But it's fun to hang out with you guys. You guys are pleasant. So I appreciate everything, and you guys have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, thanks again for being here. Hope to see you again soon. Vince.
Thank you so much, Nate. I was a little late today because I was got a few things from Father's Day as well, because it's Father's Day down here. We like to do things a little bit differently to everywhere else in the world. Just have Father's Day just where no one else has it. So I was busy scoffing down some biscuits that the kids gave me before
Nice.
I came on.
Well, happy Father's Day
And,
to you.
Well, thank you. And a very big welcome to Metal Music too. I may have nudged him along a little bit to hop on here because I've known him from other streams.
Thanks,
yeah.
Vince.
Good stuff seeing you here. Are there enough Aussies in here yet? I count 3 of us.
I think you're taking over. It may as well be Big Aussie
Middle to
Linux
under.
Live.
You are a third of this people, so
Uh-huh. Take care, everyone.
All right. Thanks again, Vince, for being here. Super appreciate it. Joe.
Well,
Last
thank
word.
you very much for hosting again. I only feel bad when I can't come, which seems to be more often than not lately. I was the guy that never missed a week when this all started. You know, I was the first guy, I think, on the show when this all started, and I was very, very brokenhearted when it seemed like it was took that break. But I'm glad to see it back. I'm glad to see you are carrying the torch. With grandchildren now and things going on, it's kind of hard to get here on the weekends as much, but I do at least catch the episodes, when I can, or sit in the chat or whatever. But as much as that said, I miss my friends. You guys are all my friends. I wish there was some way we could take a rocket ship and all get together in one place at one time, but who knows, maybe someday. But thank you very much again for having us, and I will give it my level best to. I am curious about that Easy OS, and hopefully if I by chance don't get here next week, I will at least give you a report in some fashion, whether it's Telegram or wherever. So, but thanks again. Have a great weekend.
Well, I'm glad he could make it. I'm carrying the torch because I don't know. I really enjoyed the BDLL community. There's such a great group of people, and I just didn't want to see it kind of fade away into obscurity. So I just decided I would do it. And then Rocco handed me the keys because he wasn't thinking clearly, and here I am. So
Give yourself more credit. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
well, I think if I can have just one live stream that doesn't have a faux pas by me, that would be
Yeah.
awesome. So it's been what?
But
This is
wait
like
a minute.
number 14?
Before we go, I'm going to remind you one thing. You're forgetting who Rocco was, the guy who used to break everything. Remember?
This is true.
And
but
do
see, I'm-
distro installs right before the show. So
Right.
you're following in his footsteps very well.
So this is the 17th one that I've done, and every one of them I've screwed something up. So there you go.
It's okay. It's a learning curve. You're getting there.
Metal Music, thank you for making this your first one, showing up. I'm honored.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's
Thanks for
fantastic.
having me. I like the way you do the show, and I think you're doing a great job. And I certainly hope to be a part of more of them if you would have me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and that's a lie I can certainly live with. So I appreciate you being here, and hope to see you again next week.
You will. I'll make sure of it, and I'm sure Vince will keep poking me too.
Okay, keep batting, Vince. Well, you're more than welcome. Anybody's welcome, really. Unless you're like really mean spirited and like kind of a jerk, then I don't really want it because they're supposed to have a good time.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Prophetic.
Yeah, just thanks for holding these. Came late, but I wanted to make sure I squeeze in some time because, as always, great conversations and great folks. And yeah, thanks for getting all the feels going for nostalgia with a puppy-related distro challenge. So I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say next week.
It's probably gonna be pretty glowing for me because I really enjoyed Puppy, so that's the that's my bias kicking in.
I feel the same way, and I'm sure next week everyone's going to say everything positive, and if not, I'm going to just say that they're wrong.
Just ban Hammer, right?
Yeah. No.
All right, and if you want any more of the podcastness for me, you can go to cubicle8.com. I got stuff there, links to other things that I do besides BDLL. I'm also part of the Destination Linux Network. I have 2 co-hosts on a show called DLN Extend. Wendy, who was here in the chat earlier, and Matt, who sometimes comes on here to harass me. I mean that in the nicest possible way. And then also, as part of the Other Side Podcast Network, I do a little thing called Maker's Corner with Yannick. he's another guy that kind of hangs out here who's asked me for a European edition. I'm not sure when I can swing that, but maybe in the near future we'll find out. So thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for joining, both here in the Zoom meeting and on YouTube. I'd like to thank Rocco once again for starting the BDLL community. Eric, again, for the use of his Zoom account, and everyone who's involved in making Linux possible. And to not only have this conversation, but have fun and enjoy our technology, because Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. Until next time, see yas.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.